All right, so good afternoon, everybody. I'd like to welcome you to our Honors Week presentation for HN450, the Honors Program Research Seminar. This is the capstone course of the Honors Program, and it is no joke. All right, I'm going to start off by saying it that way. So when you see the title of our presentation, which is on the slide in front of you, it kind of gets at the humor that I'm going to get at. So we've called our presentation How to Survive HN450. So I'm hoping that if you're here with us today, or if you're viewing this recording like after the fact, and you're an honors student, this presentation is going to help you know what to expect when you get into this capstone course for the bachelor's level. So in this course and in this presentation today, we're going to talk to you about what we've been doing all semester, which is creating a research proposal. So this presentation is going to talk about the elements of a proposal, from choosing a topic, to annotated bibliographies, to what it means to review the literature, to crafting problem and purpose statements, and then constructing a methodology. My fabulous group of students who's with me today will tell you a little bit about the personal projects they've undertaken this semester, and then we'll leave time for questions and answers. So, before I turn it over to my students, there's one more thing that I need to go over with you guys. So, what makes HN450 unique is that we're not really working at an undergraduate level. We're really asking the students in this class to think about research on a graduate level. So, and when you do graduate school, depending on what you study, you might have to do a dissertation. So a dissertation is usually when a student not only does a whole bunch of research utilizing library and internet, but that student also does their own original research, primary research. So in HN450, what we do is we actually do what would be the equivalent of thesis 1. So we work on the first 3 chapters. An entire dissertation is composed of 5 chapters. So the chapters are the following. Chapter 1 is the intro. Chapter 2 is the lit review. Chapter 3 is the methodology. Chapter 4 is the findings. And chapter 5 is the discussion and recommendations. So in this class, what we do is we really work on the first 3 chapters, okay? If these students were really in graduate school, they would use a second semester to collect their data so they could write the final 2 chapters. But these 3 chapters, the introduction, the literature review, and the methodology, is what they've worked on this semester, and it really is quite an undertaking. So we're going to tell you a little bit about that process. So I'm going to turn it over to one of my students, Nailah, who will tell you about the first step.
Thank you, Professor MacDonald. Okay, so the first step is choosing a topic. Now, how to go about choosing a good topic? The first thing you want to do is brainstorm. Think of a topic that you can be passionate about. Now, you can either be a topic that you major in or a topic that's going on today. Next thing you want to do is narrow it down. Don't make it too broad and don't make it too specific. So after you narrow it down perfectly, you want to search it. Does it have enough research studies? After you search it, create essential questions. These are questions that could be used to give more information on your topic to help you write your essay. Now I will be passing it off to my classmate, Julia.
Good afternoon, class. Can you guys hear me?
We can hear and see you. Hello.
Okay, good. The second step to a proposal would be the annotated bibliography. So what's an annotated bibliography? It's basically a list of citations where you gather a list of citations and you're gathering the sources from articles, books, and websites. What is its purpose? Its purpose is organization. It makes viewing your sources for later on easy, and it helps the author, which are the writers, analyze and compare the pros and cons and the general idea of each source. It also portrays the thought process of the researcher, and it summarizes each source, which makes it faster and easier to know what each article is about. So now that you guys know what an annotated bibliography is, I'm going to pass it on to my classmate, Joselyn.
Okay, thank you, Julia. I'm trying to turn my video on, but it's not letting me. Oh, okay, never mind. It's turned off.
I can see you. Hi.
Good afternoon, everyone. My step is step 3, which is the literature review. So for step 1, you look at the annotated bibliography and identify similar themes and concepts between the sources. And then for step 2, you break up your major themes to level 2 headings, and you can have more than one source fit in all the themes, or just 2 of the themes, or just 1. You can also have level 3 headings to break it down even more, and adding these headings help organize it better. For step 3, when writing the review, it's important to have an intro for each heading, either a paragraph or a few sentences at the beginning of each paragraph, explaining what the section is about, and the conclusion explaining similarities, differences between the sources. And you must paraphrase or quote from the sources, have in-text citations, and have a so what, which is explaining why this information is important and make connections with, to the other sources. Can I have the next slide? Thank you. So for step 4, we write the introduction and purpose by giving a descriptive summary of the literature review. You will state that it's a literature review of the research you found about your topic. You will give 2 to 3 sentences about each theme you have from the body section of the review. This is the last step because you can't describe your literature review till it's done. Which is the little paragraph section explaining the sources. So for step 5, you write the conclusion by summarizing what you wrote about in each theme and how they connect with each other. You will also say what area of the topic needs more research. This will be your problem statement. Now that I'm done with this part, I'm gonna pass it on to step 4 to Jada.
Hello, everybody. Let me try to turn my camera. I don't know what.
It's okay. You can start talking. And sometimes it takes a minute for it to load.
What is a problem statement? A problem statement is used in a research work as a claim that outlines the problem addressed by the study. In other words, it lays out like the problem. And what is a purpose statement? A purpose statement is a declarative statement that summarizes the main idea and goals of the research, that outlines what the research tend to study, basically. So that's the problem statement and the purpose statement. Also, it's like finding an area, and the problem statement is basically finding an area where need more research done on. So now that you guys know what the problem statement and the purpose statement is,
Thank you, Jada. So now we will pass it over to Emily.
Hello, everyone. Step 5, it's methods. The objective of this step is to convince the audience that your research proposal consists of methods and analysis that will help solve the problem statement. In doing so, it demonstrates an audience the accuracy and effectiveness of your overall research proposal. In order to create this section of the research proposal, keep in mind the following questions. Number 1, what methods have been used by other researchers in similar studies? The purpose of this question is you want to make sure that you state facts and it shows the audience the accuracy so they know that it's effective. Question number 2, how does the method you chose helps to further investigate the problem? As mentioned, you want to ensure that you incorporate facts and accurate facts so that the problem statement has an effective solution at the end. And now I'm gonna pass it on to the next person and we will discuss our own research proposal. that we have been working on.
Thank you, Emily. So now my students are going to talk a little bit about each of their individual projects for the semester. And this is where I think it's the most exciting part of the presentation, because you get to hear about what they've been doing all semester. So welcome, Director Nazari, to our presentation. It's nice to see you. I just said you came in for the best part, which is each of the students who are here today are going to talk a little bit about their research proposals. So I'm going to turn it over to Julia, okay, who is going to tell you a little bit about her proposal, and then we'll go through the entire class. So Julia, whenever you are ready, you can tell us a little bit about your proposal.
Excuse me, Professor, but that's Evelyn's slide.
Oh my gosh, Professor MacDonald can't read. And it's been a long week. So I apologize, Evelyn. That was really terrible of me. And thank you for pointing that out, Julia. Oops. All right. So Evelyn, take us away.
All right, good afternoon, everybody. My research proposal is good. The topic is gonna be about how body image impact in women. So my problem statement is body image is a psychological concept that refers to an individual's self-concept, which includes self-image and feelings toward our own body. The way a woman views her body is influenced by her body image. In some nations, a study of body image revealed that women's body dissatisfaction has contributed to a rise in health. The aim of my quantitative study is to see how body image impacts in women's overall health as subjective variables on among females. My leading some preview about my literature review is what is body image and mental health, dissatisfaction with one's own body, and sociocultural factors. And my methodology is the goal for my research paper is for exploring the negative impact the body image has in women and how it affects their overall health. The plan is to use quantitative method, and the data will be collected through a survey monkey to obtain relevant information. In this study, the participants are of any age over 18, any background, gender, and resident in any of the 5 boroughs of the New York City. Everything is going to be anonymous and keep it private in a computer until the end of March. Thank you.
Thank you, Evelyn. So great study. And again, sorry that I didn't introduce you properly. So now so Smarly is not with us today, but I'll just briefly tell you a little bit about her project. This semester, she's been looking at childhood trauma and the effects on adulthood and adulthood mental health. I think this is obviously a very important topic, and there's always room to kind of research this because obviously, traumas can kind of change in time, and depending on when you're raised. So for instance, I mean, I can imagine down the line that certain traumas that some people might have experienced during the coronavirus pandemic are something that will continue to be studied for years to come. So I'm sorry that Smarly is not here with us today, but I know that her proposal would be meaningful, and she would have loved to tell you a little bit more about that. So I'm going to pass it over now to Julia. Now it's Julia's turn because I'm reading this correctly, and she can tell you about her proposal idea.
Okay, good afternoon again, guys. And my topic was the influence of motherhood throughout the 21st century in the United States. For me to be able to explain my problem statement, I want to first explain how I even got to this topic, because originally I wanted to talk about the different how motherhood affects women differently based on their age range. but unfortunately I couldn't find enough information about that topic, so I just switched it over to how motherhood has evolved and how it is now in the 21st century. So my problem statement was that after conducting the research on the changes of motherhood throughout the 21st century in the United States, many studies and articles have actually like a lot of numerical data, but they seem to lack a great amount of research on the but they also have a great amount of research on also the trends and transformation. For instance, the change in age of conception, the increase in women having children and still obtaining a higher education, and still, the, excuse me, and still there is evidence that lacks research on the opinions and feelings that mothers have during motherhood. So I wanted to basically um, conduct a study where I can ask women about their opinions. Next slide. So throughout my literature review, I focused my themes in three forms. The first one being motherhood prior to the 21st century, and basically how it pertains to gender roles and the core of domesticity, which is the theory that, you know, women should stay at home, they're the backbone of the family, and they should raise model citizens, they are responsible for raising model citizens. The second topic was motherhood changes throughout the 21st century, and here I speak about how motherhood has changed in terms of age, how women are getting more involved in the workforce, and you know how are they continuing their education. And then the last topic that I spoke about was society's impact on motherhood, where I basically speak on how society still has high standards for women, despite the fact that we're working and doing more things at once, and how that can lead to depressive and sad emotions, which oftentimes lead to mental health issues. And finally, for my methodology to obtain the opinions of different mothers throughout the United States, I wanted to conduct a quantitative research. Why? Because I felt it's more you can get more perspective. In terms of the instrument, I would do a quantitative survey where like I said, I can obtain more opinions. And in terms of the participant and time frames, my participants are going to be mothers throughout the United States, from different backgrounds. And for the time frame, I expect it to be at least 12 weeks, around 12 weeks. So like that, I'll have enough time to one, get the result back, and two, be able to, process the results. And finally, in terms of the limitations, I would say dishonesty and access to the internet. I forgot to mention that for the survey, I would actually conduct the survey online. So one of my limitations could be that mothers who aren't able to access the internet or have a computer will have troubles actually taking the survey. And for this honesty, the reason I said this would be a limitation is because everybody has their own custom and own way of raising their children, and some which society tends to criticize, and others which they tend to praise. So if a woman tends to have they tend to have customs that are more to the criticize side, they might lie or skip information that would actually make my research more truthful. So thank you very much. Now that you guys know my topic, I'll pass it off to Jada.
Excellent. Thank you, Julia. And as I said in the chat, I'm going to say it for the record on the recording. Julia just became a new mom this semester. She has a 2-week-old son. And I think her topic is a really great topic, and I think it's so interesting. So well done, Julia, and congratulations again. All right, so Jada, you could take us away into another topic.
Guys, thank you again. I was trying again to make my camera come on, but unfortunately it's still not coming through for me. I don't know why. Okay. My name is Jada, and my topic that I will be discussing today is teenage homelessness. Throughout my whole research, when I was thinking about the topic when I first came into this class, it was like I was gravitate to this topic of teenage homelessness and homelessness as a whole, because this topic is not like, it's not being paid enough attention to, not only by society but just by like authorities. The government is like focused on like a state and local issue, which is not. It's like a global issue because it's an issue that's going on all over the world, and it's like including like children, elderly, families, pregnant mothers. It's like everybody, unfortunately, an issue of homelessness. So my problem statement is there is a significant research on the issue of teen homelessness and the cause that led to them. Research should be conducted on the public, on the government authorities, how they feel and react to the issue of homelessness, especially in the fact that it involves children and elderly, which I just stated before, which therefore are their time living in the street and sometimes with no food or place to stay. Next slide, please. Okay. So for my literature review and my methodology. So secondary research, I explore and break down my topic of teenage homelessness into sections, which made my research more complex for me. Throughout my secondary research, I found a lot of reasons, cause and effects on why a lot of teenagers are becoming homeless. Reasons being is that they're being abused and at home by caregiver or parent or a loved one, which lead them to like either run away or end up also lead them back to being homeless or on the street. And the effects from the child would also help leading them to homelessness also, because the effects is so like dramatic sometimes. Like it's not only sexual abuse, like physical, mental. It's like all of those kind of stuff like affect them, and parenting is involved. It's like the way you parent your child, and it's like how you want your child to be. It affects them growing up. So is another reason. For my methods, it's I'm gonna quantitative research, where I'm going to be surveying like staffs of nonprofit organizations, which is like shelters where help for teenagers and stuff like that. I'm going to be asking them questions on how like the government helps to fund these organizations, help to further the future of these teens involved in this nonprofit organization, and how themselves feel towards these issues. Some questions that I asked throughout my methodology was like the age group of these people that these participants that I'm going to be asking the questions. Why I'm asking like their age group and their gender, because everybody has perspective. A lot of people, depending on the age group, they are probably gonna be biased or criticize like teens being homeless. So I make sure to ask those questions to see where the bias lays between the older generation, the middle age, and the younger generations and staff. So that was basically what I researched, and I will be passing it over to my other classmate.
Thank you, Jada. And again, your connection was a little bit shaky at times, so I just wanted to make a point of clarification in case people didn't. I'm sure you can see it on the slide, but again, Jada's research, while a lot of the existing research looks at, homeless individuals and statistics of homeless individuals, she's really interested in looking to the shelters and the organizations that work to mitigate homelessness, and talking to them about ways to kind of continue to battle this important social problem. So thank you again, Jada. So now we will go back to Joselyn, who now will get to tell us a little bit about her project.
Thank you. So for my project, I did addressing racial/ethnic health disparities in medical school. So for my problem statement, there is a lot of research on the factors that contribute to health disparities and how to address these disparities. However, more research should be conducted on how curriculums in medical school are addressing these disparities. Next slide, please. Okay, so for my literature review, I discussed background information on structural racism, how health disparities impact an individual, and the socioeconomic factors that impact health disparities, which includes occupation, education, income/wealth, and where you live, and policies that could address these disparities, and like just ways that like the government could start addressing them. And so for my methodology, I chose to do a qualitative study method, which I would do an interview with the top schools that are educating medical professionals in New York. The questions I will choose will help me gain more knowledge about my topic since it's open-ended. And the first question out of my like 3, 4, 5 questions I did are if they know what health disparities is, because and how much they know about it, because if the deans at these schools don't know what health disparities is, then that's also a key issue, because education is key and not knowing something is going to impact something else. So I think it's very important that this is the first question I ask to the deans when I go to the interview. And so this was my literature proposal, and I'm gonna pass it on to Nailah.
Joselyn.
All right, thank you, Joselyn. So I chose to write about examining officers' roles in coerced confessions of juveniles. Many children are at risk for false confessions during interrogations, and a lot of them are getting convicted and currently spending the rest of their lives for it. Juveniles are entering the court system because they do not know their rights or because they're intimidated by officers interrogating them. Many times, even both. There is very little research as to why law enforcement officers use such strong techniques on minors. Sorry. All right. So juveniles do not fully understand their rights, and this could be because of education level, or IQ. An example of this is the Brendan Daisy case. Brendan Daisy was a 16-year-old boy convicted of murder in 2017. During the case, officers interrogated him for 4 hours straight and told him that the only way he could leave was if he confessed to the murder. Now, keep in mind, Brendan Daisy was attending special ed courses after failing 3 of his classes, and it was also discovered that he had the IQ level of 73. The average IQ score ranges between 85 and 115. He also had a speech and a language impairment. So I say this to say that there was no way that he could fully understand his rights. So after they told him that he couldn't, there was no way he could leave unless he confessed to the murder. Brendan Daisy did that. He confessed, and after he confessed, it was too late. He couldn't take it back, and he's currently spending the rest of his life for it. During the interrogation process, officers are using tactics on minors that they would normally use on an adult, which is psychologically abusive on a child. For my methodology, I plan on interviewing 50 police officers that obtained a juvenile suspect's confession in the last 5 years. The study will last approximately 3 weeks, and the 50 contestants will be chosen randomly throughout the police departments in the United States. All right, thank you guys. I'll be passing it off to Emily.
Thank you, Nailah.
Hello, everyone. So my research proposal will be based on impacts of bullying among the LGBTQ community by me. My problem statement is, for a very long time, bullying has caused mental distress among the LGBTQ community. It affects their mental health and interferes with their personal development. An interview will be conducted on recent LGBTQ high school graduates in regards of their victimization to bullying and how they dealt with mental distress. Next slide, please, Professor. The following points are explored throughout my secondary research are behavioral impact, physical impact, mental impact, school protocols, and anti-bullying programs. The reason why I have chosen these five points are to be able to give the audience more reliable information in order for them to better understand sexual-based discrimination against the LGBTQ community. The method that I have chosen for my proposal is the qualitative method. This method helps understand the perceptions of an interview and is going to give me a better understanding on how, as mentioned, the LGBTQ have dealt with bullying and how it has affected their mental health. I also want to mention that yesterday, President Biden he signed a proclamation of having Transgender Day as March 31st. So it's very important, and I feel like my research proposal is very current, and I feel like it still happens. So I want to be able to, inform my audience about the issue and how we can make it better. Thank you. And this is the end of our presentation. If you have any questions, I will be passing it on to Professor MacDonald.
So thank you so much. And you were right. It is totally timely, like your topic. I think, that was a great tie-in that you just had there, Emily. So I see that Smarly did join in our session. So Smarly, I plugged you a little bit earlier, but would you like to tell the class a little bit about, or tell the group really quickly a little bit about what you've been working on this semester?
Yes, I apologize. It's been so bad connection in Locust. It's really, I can't. But, hi guys, my name is Smarly, and I did my paper research basically on what happened to you as a child, childhood trauma, and the effects on adulthood and mental health. My problem statement is have the relationship with your parents or guardians affect your adulthood and I should have said mental health and mental health. And I also said as you look in the life that you live now, have you ever thought about the life that you live and how could it be different? And that's something that I wanted to know because I had to relate it to my life. And I looked at it as like, was the way I was growing up, did it really affect how I am as an adult right now and the people I interact with and all the stuff that I do in general? That's what my base of my research is on. And the methodology, the next slide, I try to put it in put it on the Google Slides, but connection was bad, and every time I refresh, it will go away. So I kept undoing, can't find the rest, but I'm gonna get it on today. The topics or the themes that I have in my paper are what is childhood trauma, the background of childhood trauma, and the definition of it. How does it affect a child's adulthood? That would be mostly where it has to do with substance abuse, alcoholism, your attitudes alongside with other people, and interaction in society in general, and how your mental health, how does it affect that? How do you fix your mental health in words like is what kind of different terms of therapy, what can you do to help you feel better, or like there's crisis counseling, stuff like that. Those are going to be the themes that's in my paper. The methodology, as I said, I was trying to do all of it and it was not working. But the goal of the research is to connect how the different forms of childhood trauma affects adulthood and the effects it has on mental health. I would like to do a Google form where I've done this over the quarantine and over like the past week and a half, like not past week and a half, but like a couple months ago, that people would write confessions in Google Forms. But it would be all total anonymous, but they'll leave like their number or an email and I respond back to them on terms of like advice and stuff like that. So that's like what I'm trying to do right now. And it's just a lot because of Locust connection, but we're good. But that's what I wanted to do. I tried to hear everyone's presentation. I couldn't really hear, and I kept logging in and out. So I think that's
Well, I thank you for being persistent and coming into class and telling us a little bit about your work. You did yourself more justice than I could have ever done for you. So thank you, Smarly. So at this point, I will now put up the Q&A slide. And again, I want to thank Director Nazari for coming in and joining us today. I know it's a tough it's a tough time of the semester, and there's a lot of other courses that kind of go on during this time slot. But what I will tell, my class is that all of you guys are you guys have really grown this semester. And what this course does is it shows you, it shows you how to move from undergraduate research to graduate research. And just listening to you guys talk about your topics, and I know that these were kind of abbreviated presentations. You'll do a little bit more in depth on them for your final presentations next week. I think that, it shows me that you understand the process of graduate level research, and I'm really looking forward to your final presentations, and I'm very proud of all of you guys. So thank you again for joining us. I'm going to stop the recording here.